Afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful Thursday afternoon. Just wanted to pop in here for a moment and two things going on here. One, I'm streaming to our student ministries group and our Facebook, on our Facebook side of things, but I'm also streaming to our West Florida Student Ministries YouTube page, going live with it, trying this out as well for the first time. But excited about learning this new platform that we're working with here, StreamYard.com. Just to help get some teachings and things out there and words of encouragement, just to update you on things and that kind of thing. But today I wanted to just briefly jump on this live stream to just talk a little bit about celebrating the wins. Hope you guys had a great service last night. For most of you, you did your kids ministry, Rangers, girls ministries, and youth ministries on your midweek service, your typical Wednesday night stuff. I know last night here we were serving alongside Evangel, helping them with they did their fall festival last night. This is the fall break for this area, and so they did a fall break camp first part of the week, and then we went into fall festival last night. So did a 3-day camp that we got to help them with, and my wife and I helped run activity stuff for them. That was a lot of fun. And then they ended the camp last night with their fall festival, just doing it earlier because, you know, at the end of the month, everybody else is going to be doing theirs. And so had a great turnout last night. But today I just want to talk to you a little bit about celebrating wins, because I hope you had some wins last night. Odds are you probably had some wins last night. But as you know, typically what we tend to do is we tend to only celebrate these huge wins. We tend to only celebrate things that, you know, we set this big goal of reaching a set amount of money, you know, and we did it. And so now we're going to throw the party, or we're going to do this build up, hoping to hit, you know, so many kids in our ministry. And when we get there, then we celebrate that win, you know, just things like that. And typically those come far and few between. We don't always have, you know, sometimes weeks go by, let's put it this way, or months go by without celebrating like a significant win. And we tend to, I don't know, I think hinder our momentum when we only focus on the big wins. If I only celebrated the big wins, man, I'd only have, you know, 1 or 2 times a year that I feel like I was really celebrating anything, if that sometimes. And so what I'm learning to do in my life, and had to learn to do in our ministry when I was in full-time youth ministry early on, and things that I'm looking at trying to do even here in this role here, is to learn to celebrate little wins along the way. Just things that you do differently and you see a positive result from. Or maybe in the process of getting to the big win, you see some progress along the way. Learn to celebrate the progress. Learn to celebrate just things that the growth that's happening. You're trying to lose weight, so you set this goal of losing 50 or 60 pounds or whatever. Hey, celebrate when you get to the 5-pound mark. I'm down 5 pounds. Learn to celebrate little wins along the way. Because what I believe happens, what I see in my own life anyways, when I focus on celebrating those little wins, I begin to build up momentum that helps keep me going for the long haul to get to the big win. And it helps give me momentum to not only accomplish the big win, but hopefully go even further. And it builds up the courage and the influence in my life to be a little more courageous and bold in future goals down the road. But when we celebrate these little wins, there's other things that happen as well. A lot of times, for those of us that are leading ministry teams and stuff as well, it helps bring the team along. It helps create momentum for the team. It helps create more buy-in for the team. Everybody likes to be recognized, and everybody likes to be rewarded a little bit. And, if you've ever hung out with Jenny Mayo, you hear her Jenny-isms as all these one-liners she has. One of the one-liners that she has that I find myself using all the time when coaching leaders is, what gets rewarded gets repeated. And man, I think that's a huge thing that we need to remind ourselves of. And here, I'm going to throw that down at the bottom for you. What gets rewarded gets repeated. And there we are. I think that's a big deal. I think we've got to celebrate and reward these little things along the way that allow your team to get buy-in. When you reward them, then they want to do it again, so they get rewarded as well. Let's see. Here we go. It's a great comment somebody just said. And hey, it only says Facebook user, just food for thought. If you're on Facebook, if you don't click the link that lets you, I guess, get permission to show your name and face. So if you want to stay anonymous like this, that's fine. So I'm not sure without logging into my Facebook on my phone, which I guess I could do here. who commented that. But here's what they said: very timely for us. We've had some major spiritual warfare within our youth group and church, and we have to celebrate the small wins or we will cry. Man, absolutely, absolutely, completely get that. Let me. Hey, Jenny, I see that. Absolutely. And yeah, Josh, we don't, man. We've got to celebrate the small wins, man. We've got to celebrate that. Hey, we had 2 extra kids last night, or even 1 extra kid, a new face come into our ministry last night. Or you saw a leader step up and do something that mattered for a kid. You saw them step up and maybe just step over to the side and maybe love on a kid in a way, or just strike up a conversation with one of your students that seemed to kind of maybe be off to the side there and wasn't really, connecting well with others or something like that. Celebrate those wins. Listen, guys, here's the other thing as well. I think we get complacent with a lot of our expectations. Like, how do I put this? Like, all right, we wake up every day. First and foremost, I don't think we stop and just give God praise and thanks for allowing us to have another day on this earth. As crazy as this world is, as difficult as life can be at times, as just whatever is going on in your life, I get it. We all go through hard times and hard seasons as well. The fact that He allowed us another day to wake up with breath, that means He allowed us to wake up another day with purpose to fulfill. I don't think we give God enough praise and credit for giving us that day. So those are even small things in our life that I think if we would begin to stop and give thanks for, we will in ourselves begin to develop an attitude of gratitude. And man, that's contagious. When people are around you and they see how thankful you are for what they do, how thankful you are for the life that you live, how thankful you are for the calling that you have on your life. Don't forget to thank God for that. As frustrating as it can be sometimes. When we stop to when they see how thankful you are for the team that's coming around you, and they see how thankful you are for their willingness to serve alongside you or whatever, man, that gets contagious, and they love to be a part of someone who has that kind of inspiration in their life, and they're always just giving thanks for those things. I think that's something, man, we've got to really focus in our life. Giving more praise to God and giving more praise, to others. Let's see. Someone said sometimes the things you don't celebrate in one season will be the prayer request in your next. Come on, who said that? I don't see it on my stream yet. Maybe it'll pop up here in a second. Man, that is great. Think about that. The things you don't celebrate in one season will be your prayer request in the next. Listen, we know, and because we've all probably taught it or preached it, ourselves, that, we know that God is a God of sowing and reaping. And when you sow gratitude, when you sow thanks, when you, sow these things, man, you begin to reap that. I had a conversation with my son, PKs, they get thrown in the mix of all this stuff all the time. You get to hear about all this stuff. So my son's 19 and loves kids ministry. You guys all, most of you know Stephen. And so Stephen loves serving. He's serving here at Evangelist, part of their kid men team and things like that. And he was running a little behind. He was running late, and he kind of had a nonchalant attitude about it. And I was kind of getting on him a little bit, and because it wasn't as big of a deal, but still, he needed to be somewhere to get started by a certain time, and he was running a little behind on him. He just kind of seemed nonchalant about it. And maybe I'm a little hard on my kids, but I just stopped and I said, hey, so you're going to serve someone else as part of their team to do something that needs to be done to help make this event go off with excellence. And one day you're going to have your own team. And I just said, I'm just telling you right now, I think God is a God of reciprocity. Dane and I served in our ministry and ran our ministry with this attitude of understanding that how we serve and how we give thanks, the level that we do those things is what's going to come back to us. And so I said, you know what? You're sowing into your future ministry. One day when you're running a team on your own and you're going to have, leaders coming around you and they're just showing up, late for things, and it's just kind of nonchalant to them, and that gets all over you and get frustrated. This is what I want you to look back on and go, well, maybe because that's how I served in that previous season. So I would say, let's be careful how we serve in this season. Let's be thankful in this season. Let's serve with all we got in this season, so that in the next season we don't become our own prayer request. That was a powerful statement. See, another user said, I'm for sure celebrating small wins now more than ever than I've had. It's important to share the small wins with your youth team as well, so that they can learn to celebrate with you, man. Absolutely, Marco. It's like I'm having to look somewhere else to see that. Again, if you're joining in and you want to make a comment, you see it says just Facebook user, but if you'll click, there should be a link there that gives permission to StreamYard to post your name and picture. You can do that. But no, man, absolutely, man. We want them to celebrate with us. The more buy-in that they have, the more committed they are, to celebrating and being a part of your team. The more committed they're going to be to just doing whatever needs to be done in order for that ministry to be successful in the future. And so when you celebrate wins and things that they're doing for you and serving, or when something happens at youth, a kid gets saved, and you look at those leaders and go, hey, because of what you do, I want to say thank you. Because of your willingness to be in here and to help with this ministry, look at the fruit that's coming from it. Because God's looking at the big picture. He's looking at the big picture of what's happening in your ministry. And now he's bringing blessing and harvest to your ministry because you were willing to do the work here, and you're willing to sow into your team. You're willing to train your team. You're willing to build your team up. And so they're now winning, and they're a part of this. And so the whole team wins. So we celebrate as a team. You may have been the one that preached the message, and the kid come crawling to the altar. Hey, I celebrate you. Thank you for praying over that message. Thank you for being obedient to God. Thank you for putting the time, effort, and planning into making that night happen as a leader. But if you've got other leaders that are in that room with you, your spouse or a significant other, we have several that are still, engaged right now. So it's not their spouse, but their fiancés work alongside of them, or just another person, a mom, a grandmother. Let them celebrate that win with you. And so every little thing that we can find to celebrate, I think we ought to do it. I think we need to celebrate every little win. We need to celebrate every moment where somebody does something right. When you see that leader take special attention to a student, celebrate that win, because they're gonna again, what gets rewarded gets repeated. They're gonna see that meant something to you as well. And I always challenge the students. I would from time to time remind our students to thank the leaders in our ministry for what they do, because without them, we couldn't do what we do. Without them, we couldn't take them on the trips that we get to take them on. We couldn't take them to the camps that we take them to. That's one of the things we always celebrate you guys when you come to our camp. If you don't come to camp with your students, I can't run the camps, because I can't just have all these kids show up and not have, the leaders there to help run the camp, to help be with the kids in the rooms and that kind of thing for supervision and that sort of thing. So I want to celebrate the fact that you're willing to take off work and come be a part of this and be a part of our camps and stuff. And so I want you to do the same for your leaders. And I just want you to remember that, it doesn't take a significant, it doesn't take that, man, we hit $10,000 for Speed the Light, which I hope you do. Praise God, and we'll celebrate that win together. As a district, we'll celebrate that win with you. But man, when someone drops an extra $100 in the offering, and it's like unexpected or whatever, man, take a moment to cheer on, whether you call that person out or not, if you don't even know. But hey, celebrate. Man, we had a great offering tonight. Celebrate their willingness to get in worship. Man, students, it was so good to see you, pressing in tonight. Thank you for helping set the environment for God to come in and do what we're doing here. Thank your leaders because they're willing to organize and put the game together that adds that fun element into the service that just, the kids are excited about. It's a lot of times it's those little fun things that make them excited and want to bring their friend, to youth the next week because they like what you're doing or the format you're running or something. Celebrate the fact they were willing to do that to help you have a successful, ministry. Thank the moms and dads. Thanks the bus drivers that are picking up all the kids of all ages to come to your Rangers and girls ministries and children's and youth ministries and things. Make sure that they're feeling a part of the celebration of that win. Thank your pastor. Celebrate little wins with him, man, that things happen. I encourage you. We talked a little bit when we did a Facebook Live a while back with Evan Vanderford on pastoral relationships, which, by the way, next week I'm excited to be interviewing Pastor Tim Black as we talk from a senior pastor point of view, how to celebrate those wins as well. And I mean, how to celebrate wins, but how to, develop pastoral relationships from the senior pastor point of view. And that will probably be a Zoom conference, by the way, and not in this format. We're still working that out. And so if it is, we'll post the link in our Facebook group so everybody can be a part of it and watch it as well. But anyway, just email your pastors. Let them know, hey, tonight, we had a new kid, or hey, tonight we had 2 kids, that get saved. Make sure they're always in the know of what's happening in your ministry and stuff. But anyway, I say all that to just come back to this, man. Celebrate small wins as much, if well, more than what you would your big wins. Look for opportunities to celebrate. Look for opportunities to pat somebody on the back. Create fun awards. When we do our Speed the Light tour, I love the creativity that our team, and a lot of it I give credit to my wife on. I want to celebrate her wins because she has such a creative mind with some of this stuff. Where we create, we build, we go and buy the stuff and we build awards and we spray paint them gold after we've hot glued them together or whatever. We paint them up to fit whatever we're celebrating for the student or leader that maybe went above and beyond and Speed the Light or something. And you could do the same thing. Hey, we had a year several years ago in our kids camp where we called it was the year of Vomit-geddon. Now, so maybe some of you were there with that. And okay, I see a question coming in. We'll get to it in a minute. It was Vomit-geddon that year. We had a stomach bug run through the camp, and we had kids out. They were sick everywhere. We had literally pulled mattresses out of the cabins, laid them on the ground out there so kids could lay on them and just puke over in the grass. It was a rough start to that camp. The cool thing is, that happened like on Tuesday. A lot of kids went home like on Tuesday or went home on Wednesday morning. Kids it was 24-hour bug. They were back feeling better that next night. Moms were bringing them back because kids were like, we want to go back. And so a ton of those kids were able to, actually came back. And so we celebrated our camp medic that year. Andrew James was our camp medic. And so we took a bottle of Pepto-Bismol and we hot glued it to a little wood base and we spray painted the whole thing gold. You could see what it was and just presented it to him at camp and just said, hey, we want to celebrate our camp nurse for surviving Vomit-geddon, put into that. So those were wins that we look to say. All right, so here's a question coming in. Josh is asking, have you trained yourself to see who is there, who is worshiping, who is showing up, who is leading, etc., other than focusing on who isn't? It's so much easier to see the former. Josh, that's a great point, because here's the thing. I think our flesh and our nature is to always see the negative. Like just think about your own life. You preach a message. Kids get saved that night. It's a powerful night and that kind of thing, but you realize you missed a point, or you had someone after service come up and say, hey, I don't agree with this one thing that you said here. Now, you had 5 kids get saved. You had kids in the altar. You had the whole night was a win, but you had one negative comment come to you. And what do we focus on for the next week or month or year? We focus on the one negative thing. And I think that's a lot of our flesh and our human nature, is that we tend to focus on the negative. So as you're saying here in your question, we tend to, and I agree with you, because now that as I'm thinking through what your question is, I remember looking around the night going, oh, why can't they get into this? Why can't they worship? They ought to have their hands up. They ought to be, how come? And just like you're saying, instead of focusing on who is, this is where we tend to see, the glass half empty. Well, in this case, it's a lot more empty because I'm trying to drink my water, than the full, than the few that are doing those things, the few that are stepping up to the ones who are actually getting involved in worshiping. And so, Josh, that's a great challenge, I think, to the group, is to in this upcoming week or so of prepping and planning, to challenge our mindset to start looking for those who are leading, start looking for those who are stepping up to the plate and willing to serve, and start looking for the ones who are, when they walk by, like we do this at camp a lot of times. If I see a student or a leader and they're walking across the campgrounds and there's some trash on the ground and nobody say anything to them, I'm way back. They may not, hopefully not even know that I'm there. And I just see them reach down and grab that trash and take it, drop it in the can on the way. I'm be like, 50,000 bonus points for the whatever team, because I love celebrating, that win, because what gets rewarded gets repeated. In those environments, I find myself looking for those who are doing it right. But you're right. Sometimes then I get into the service that night, and instead of looking at all the kids that are worshiping, I'm looking at the ones that are still sitting in their seat going, man, why don't they get this? What they're missing out on. And I'm focused more on who I feel like maybe we're not reaching than the ones that we are that are down there. So, man, thanks for that question. Thanks for that thought. So I want to challenge everybody this next, Wednesday night, or even this Sunday, if you've got something happening coming up, maybe stop and look around and see who shows up, see who's there on time, see who's willing to step up and help in the certain areas, see who's down there worshiping, see who's stepping up to the plate and helping, maybe they're playing an instrument or something on the worship team, or that kind of thing. And just let's celebrate that win. Let's celebrate something that kid did. That kid was willing to come back and help you with a puppet and Kids Men, or they were willing to go sit with, a first time visitor that kind of seemed, nervous or scared about being there. And let's celebrate, our students that are willing to, to do things like that. So that's a great thought. Hey, I'd love to hear, even from this week, some of you guys, what were some wins from maybe just last night? What were some wins that happened? If you are in our Facebook group, then you saw Nate post earlier. Nate's a new youth pastor that we just added into the group. He's at Bethel over here in the 4A section. And I had coached Nate this last week with just some ideas and things for that night. And he took a couple things that we talked about and evidently applied them that night. And man, kids had a fun time that night doing some fun event things, but then they were into the lesson. They did an activity that tied into the lesson, and so they were that much more engaged. And man, that night he had several salvations, and so he posted that in there. Man, we're celebrating with you, Nate. So what a huge win. He was willing to try something different, reformat it, and he immediately saw some fruit from that or whatever. So I'd love to hear from you. So whether you're watching this later, it doesn't matter. Comment in the post below, hashtag Wednesday Night Win if you want. I don't care, just something like that. Let us know something that went well, whether it was in girls ministries, Rangers, Kid Men, if you do a combined thing, or your youth service, middle school, whatever. We'd love to hear that. We want to celebrate with you. The beauty of this smaller district is we all get to know each other. We are family. We are family, and I want you to know that. So I'm here for you. I want to be a part of your life. I want to pray with you. I want to encourage you. I want to cheer you on, and that kind of thing. So we are family. Matter of fact, you'll really hear that if you're coming to our Leader Summit, November 7, 8, 9. That Thursday night, the 7th, is when we're kicking things off with our superintendent, Brother Tommy, and Sister Reese. You're going to be with us that night, and we're going to really be talking about our church, our family. And so we got some fun things that we're going to do that night for those that are able to be there that Thursday night. But it's just to really emphasize or reemphasize the we are family thing. I love that when you come to our events, I feel like, and here's the thing, it's not just what I say. I literally had a leader sit in my office last week that was talking about how he loves coming to our events because he never feels like it's this, there's any one youth pastor beating their chest about how big their youth group is, or how big their kids ministry is, or bragging on their numbers, or trying to be like the big dog in the room. It's just, you're there and you see someone, and it can be someone that, a person that runs 50 kids will see someone that runs 3 kids, and they hug. They're like, what's going on? We're so glad you're here. And that's what we want to continue to foster, the humility and the love and the family aspect. Now, look, I get it. You're in a family, and I was an only child, so I don't understand siblings like my wife does. She's the youngest of 4, and she had 3 older brothers. But I'm a dad of 3 kids, and man, I know in family there can be this kind of stuff, and sometimes that happens. But family, man, we're blood, and we'll bleed for each other. We'll die for each other, and that's what I love about our events. Our events may not be the biggest. Our events may not even be the best for that matter. But what our events do provide is this relational aspect for our leaders, that we're there to cheer each other on. We're there to love on each other. You can go to a conference, and I go for it because I did them, and I still go to them, where maybe there's going to be some big name speaker. But at the end of the night, that big name speaker is not going to be the one you're going to get to call on when things are frustrating you next week or next year even. They're not going to be the ones there for you to go, hey, let me walk through this with you. But we are, and that's why we're here. And the leaders that are in this Facebook group and in our student ministry in our district, we want to walk through life together. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you got to go together. And that's really what we're emphasizing here. So Jeannie, hey, look at there. I like how we can see your name and face. Jeannie says we had 2 girls come back for the 2nd time this week, and they brought 3 friends with them, and one gave their life to Jesus last night. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Praise God. What an incredible testimony. Look at that, man. And so here's the deal. They came back and they brought a friend with them. And so not only are we celebrating with you guys for creating an environment and a format that they wanted to bring their friends to, but we want to celebrate with you and encourage you to celebrate with those kids who now have a friend who is ready to bust heaven wide open because they were willing to put in the work. They were willing to make the ask. They were willing to say, hey, come to church with us. And they put them in an environment where they could experience the incredible grace and love and mercy of Jesus and the miracle of salvation in their life. Man, isn't that awesome? I love that. Praise God. And so that's so cool, man. And that's what we're about. So what an incredible win to celebrate. And that's what we want to see all of our leaders doing. Take a moment to celebrate the wins. That's huge. And I bet if you were to think back through the night, there are other things that happened that you could go back and celebrate as well. You know, whether it was the worship team pulled off a song that they had been working on for a couple weeks, or a game that you thought was going to for sure flop and it didn't, or someone at the last minute got sick and so someone stepped up at the last minute to fill that gap. Man, celebrate those wins, guys. We can't celebrate this kind of stuff enough. And I just think we need to quit trying to, and I'm not saying don't set big goals, but I'm telling you, you'll only hit the big goals if you learn to start celebrating the small wins, the little mile markers along the way that just will remind you that you're moving in the right direction. You've got some forward progress going here. You've got people coming around you that are helping you out. You've got some encouragement. You may take 3 steps forward, but then you got to take a step back. But it's okay. There's still this forward progression that's happening in the long run in the grand scheme of things. And so, you know, I really just want to encourage you in that, and just celebrate the small wins. Celebrate the leaders in your life. Celebrate the other people in your life that are just really helping you succeed in ministry and helping you do, you know, everything that God's called you to do. Celebrate your family. Thank them for being willing to put up with you and the time that you have to put into ministry. You know, celebrate the things in your life that we just tend to overlook because we've become complacent, or it's an expectation. You know, well, I pay them to do it. That's why they do it. But they did it, and they probably did it with a pretty decent attitude. So celebrate things that I think we've just learned to become very complacent about in our life. And so just would love to challenge you, you know, in that. And I hope this blesses you guys. I hope this gets you to thinking a little bit. And so going into this next week, listen to what Josh said. Maybe start to reprogram your mind to train yourself to look at who is there, to look at the kids that are worshiping, the ones who are showing up on time, the ones who are stepping up and leading in different areas, you know, and start focusing on them, high five them, get them a $5 Starbucks gift card or Dunkin' Donuts or Krispy Kreme or whatever. Just little things like that along the way pay off major dividends in the long run. And so we have to do ministry with the long haul in mind. Like, this is a marathon. Life is a marathon. We're not sprinting to the end, to the finish line. We're in a marathon here. And so let's learn to celebrate every step that we make in the forward progress. Let's learn to celebrate those that come alongside us to help us get down the road. And hey, just want to encourage you today, man. You guys are doing a great job. We celebrate the fact that you're still here, the fact that you're still in ministry. You might have had a horrible night last night, and you might have woke up and said, I quit. You might have went to bed saying, I quit. But yet here you are, you're looking, you're watching, you're kind of listening, you're processing through, because Lord knows we've all had, you know, times like that. I can't tell you how many times I quit in my head. But for some reason, I just couldn't let it go. And God honored that. He understands. He completely understands. And we do too. And so that's the beauty of this family and this time together. But listen, I love you. I want to jump off here. This went longer than what I thought it was. But man, thanks for feeding in. Thanks for chiming in with some of your wins and stuff. And again, add to the comment stream here. Excuse me, I'm getting all tongue-tied. Funny, last night I kept trying to take pictures of people, and they were sitting on hay bales, and I kept trying to say bale hays and bay hails, and I couldn't get it right. I kept getting all tongue-tied. But anyway, I didn't mean for this to go long, but I want to encourage you, if you're watching later tonight when you get off work or something, you get to go back and watch this. Man, celebrate wins. Post it in the stream here. Let's see, so we can all comment with you. We can all cheer you on. We can all give you the heart emoji or whatever, the high five emoji or something. Let's just celebrate the small wins together. Things that took place in your ministry last night. We're here for you. We love you. Again, you know our events that are coming up. We'd love to see you November 7, 8, 9 at the Revival Leader Summit. And then, of course, this Friday and just tomorrow is our deadline to register your church for the Encounter Conference at the early bird rate. If you'll get your church registered, at least go ahead and get your church registered and pay for the 2 or 3 that you know are coming. You can add more down the road, or the 10 that you know that are coming. You can add more down the road at the early bird rate. But also, if you want them to have T-shirts, the pre-order for that, all that's coming up, so we can get those shirts ordered. And then we'll have additional shirts at the event for sale, event T-shirts, but we can't guarantee their size at the event. That's why we added the pre-order part in there. Listen, love you guys. Have a great day. Celebrate every win, no matter how small. Don't wait on the big ones. And man, let's just see God continue to use that to create momentum to do greater things for his kingdom. Love you guys.